right, ladies, thank you for that lovely fireside chat. Next up, we've got Trevor Filter, co-founder of Flexa. Flexa makes it easy to accept digital assets across all of your points of sale. Welcome, Trevor.
Thank you. All right, so first of all, thank you for having us. What a great conference. This is our third Walletcon that we've sponsored. It's good to be back in Denver. My name is Trevor. I am one of the co-founders at Flexa. We have been at this, well gosh, I have been at payments generally for more than 15 years, and then half of that dedicated to our work at Flexa. We try to make it as easy as possible for any business in the world to accept digital currency. And we also have a suite of really great tools for wallet developers to integrate to make that even better for their own users. There has been a lot of talk lately about how we go about solving crypto payments. And I'm glad, because this is a very, very important part of how we bring crypto mainstream. We just heard Jess talk about how she thinks payments is going to onboard the next 100 million users. Totally, fully co-sign that. I am here today to re-enlist all of us in the original vision of Satoshi and the cypherpunks, because we are heading down what I believe is the wrong path in terms of bringing crypto payments mainstream, and that is that we are using credit and debit cards to do it. And credit and debit cards are pretty antithetical to pretty much everything that crypto stands for. So today, I want to share some alternatives and some thoughts about why that's the case, and hopefully radicalize you to bring crypto back on track with what we're all trying to achieve when we set out to join this industry. So first of all, some bona fides. I wouldn't be able to speak about crypto payments if I didn't have some history with it. I'm also really proud that we get to work with some amazing companies to help them accept digital currency payments. And whenever I bring up that we work with Chipotle or Regal or Kiehl's, people say, wait a second, Chipotle accepts crypto? And the answer is yes, Chipotle accepts crypto. We did a huge campaign with them during the Ethereum merge, where they offered the biggest and richest discount they've ever offered, 99.95% off of a burrito. It just so happened that they were introducing the Guajillo steak burrito at the same time as Ethereum was moving to proof of stake. So there was a fun tie-in. We went through our budget for 3 weeks in 2 days, and it was a huge, huge splash for them. So this is really fun, and I'm proud that this is my job. I get to help bring companies that are really, really huge Fortune 500 companies on chain. But we have learned a thing or two about how to help businesses accept crypto payments. All of these brands don't use credit or debit cards to do it, and that's because credit and debit cards are fraud-prone, they're exclusionary, they're expensive, and they're very, very bad at privacy. So today we're going to talk through each of these things, and again, I hope to re-enlist you in this idea of electronic money being something that actually protects our privacy and doesn't steal our funds and doesn't exclude those of us who are not able to, for example, qualify for a particular credit score. So let's get into it. First of all, credit cards are fraud-prone. This is the first credit card that was ever invented. It was issued in 1950. It's a Diners Club card. This is the credit card number. The credit card number was 5 digits. Today it's 16 digits. Aside from that, not much has changed. Every time we process a credit card transaction, we move those 16 digits between about 20 different databases, all the way to the issuing bank and all the way back. We encrypt and re-encrypt and decrypt the entire chain, and this whole concept of tokenization that's very familiar with the payments landscape has nothing to do with crypto, is all about trying to take that data and secure it in a form that it can't be stolen. It gets stolen all the time. Credit cards are incredibly fraud-prone because they were invented they were invented in 1950. They were invented 30, 40 years before the internet took off. There is no way to secure data without doing what Satoshi invented with Bitcoin, without actually using public and private keys like the internet has at its very heart. But today, all payments practically go through the internet. None of them have adopted the new form of payments that was invented by private and public key encryption and what all of our blockchains leverage when we make crypto transactions. So that's kind of gobsmacking. Second, though, credit cards are exclusionary. I talked a little bit about how credit cards were invented before the internet. There's actually an interesting thing that happened in between credit cards and the internet getting invented. First, credit cards invented in 1950. That was the first Diners Club card. 6 years later, a company called FICO was invented. 2 years after they were invented as the Fair Isaac and Company, they introduced the concept of credit scoring. There were a lot of other things happening in the US in the 1950s that were entrenched into this credit scoring system that persists to this day. And the Federal Reserve, others, have actually well documented the fact that credit scores prevent minorities, women, people with lower incomes who live in certain zip codes from getting access to credit, and they actually prevent all kinds of people from accessing the system of payments that is so pervasive today. It wasn't until 12 years later that ARPANET was actually invented, and maybe 10, 20 years after that, when those of us started getting our first Earthlink accounts. This wouldn't be so much of a problem if it didn't actually then manifest in a giant wealth transfer. So the way this works is that some people can get access to credit cards and some people can't. But merchants don't pay the same amount of money to accept credit cards and bank accounts or debit cards. Merchants pay, it's actually capped at 21 cents plus 5 basis points. Merchants pay 21 to 22 cents for every $100 of payments that they accept on a debit card. And they pay sometimes up to $4 to accept payments from a credit card. But they are legally prohibited from discriminating between those payment instruments, which means that each of us, when we go into a store, might cost the merchant somewhere between 20 cents and $4, and the merchant has to charge us the exact same price. So I used to talk about this all the time until Emily Stewart at Vox wrote this up for me. It's very convenient. I highly recommend this article. Every year, America's poor lose $700 that gets transferred into the pockets of wealthy people who can get a Chase Sapphire Reserve card. And it literally funds their travel and their vacation points. And this is kind of egregious. It's almost like a tax that we unintentionally protract upon the least fortunate among us. This is systemic. There's no way to undo this without completely taking apart and dismantling the way that credit cards are incentivized, which is just another reason why credit cards are bad. Third reason is credit cards are expensive. So it's probably not a surprise to you that credit cards cost about 3% for merchants to accept. I think we all generally know that. What you might not know is that credit card companies, the networks behind them, are actually some of the highest margin businesses on the stock exchange. And this is wild. Visa and MasterCard make nearly twice the profit margin of Apple and Alphabet, Google's parent company. They're just taking money from us. They're returning it to us in the form of these fake credit card points that some of us may never use, and merchants, and therefore us, are footing the bill. None of this, I think, is what Satoshi had in mind when he set out to create his original vision for the Bitcoin blockchain. But the last is the part that's nearest and dearest to my heart. Credit cards and debit cards are bad at privacy. This is basically how card networks look at user data, and that's because card networks have been developed on the back and entirely secured by user data. I used to work at American Express for a couple of years, and I learned the story of how billing addresses became the way that we secure credit card payments online. It's because one random product manager was looking for a way to fight Russian fraudsters who had stolen a bunch of credit cards and published them in a database table online. So they just went looking for one other piece of data that they could use to secure these payments and make sure that whoever was holding the credit card was the person who was authorized to use the credit card. I don't know why they didn't choose something that we could put into one field and instead created something that web developers all around the world have had plagued them for years and years. The reason that you have to punch in 7 separate fields every time you're checking out online is because of this product manager who decided that billing addresses were the best way to secure payments online. And to this day, all of those stolen databases that list credit card numbers, now they just list the billing addresses as well. It's a total joke. It's a race to the bottom. They're constantly chasing new ways to secure payments that all constantly violate our data. I have another story. I used to work at a company that was working with a vendor who was providing something called chargeback insurance. So chargebacks are really bad for businesses. They're very, very hard for businesses to fight. And companies end up, if they incur too many chargebacks, getting shut down and basically blacklisted from these different credit card networks. There is a company out there who installs software on mobile devices that will look into your contact books if you give it permission. It will look at how you're holding the phone in basically space. It will look at the the gyroscopic data as your phone moves when you enter things like your password. And they will scrape up and hoover up all that data to make sure that you are the person who's authorized to use that payment method. They'll look at your contact book for things like Chinese-sounding last names or Russian-sounding last names. They're doing all of this because the more user data they can get, the more secure they can make the payments. Crypto doesn't need this. Crypto uses blockchains instead of any of this information, and that's why crypto is so much more privacy preserving. But as soon as we bolt a credit card on top of crypto, or in vice versa, we bolt crypto on top of a credit card, we're just going right back to where all of this started 70 years ago. At Flexa, we believe that it doesn't have to be this way. We think credit cards have a shelf life of about 100 years, which means we have 25 years now to replace credit cards with something better. And that's crypto, obviously. We're all here, we believe this. So we offer a lot of really cool tools for merchants to help them accept digital currency payments. We care a lot about user experience, making it so easy to send payments that you know exactly who you're paying, you know exactly what dollar amount you're paying, you're able to choose the asset you're paying with. And then closer to some of the folks in the audience, we offer a set of tools for wallet developers that we call Flexa Components. These are completely free. There's a scan component and a spend component, and this helps you interface way more seamlessly with our network of merchants. And it's really all about us trying to bring about the future that we think people deserve, which is making it possible to spend digital currency easily in stores, migrating away from banks and cards and toward blockchains and apps. And so that is my TED Talk. Thank you for coming today. I hope you now care more about what Sochi is trying to do. If you're interested, you can follow me on Twitter, and then look forward to seeing you all at our booth outside. Thanks again.